you're not mad at me.
Ah! Who's pinching my inner thigh?
All right, I'm Paul, and I supervised animation on Sausage Party Foodtopia Season 2, Episode 2, and we're going to break down some of the animation that you just saw a little bit of, and we're going to see a lot more of. Going to be playing this at 1/4 speed so that we can really pay attention to the animation choices that were made. Going to break down a 3-minute section here. Let's have a look. So, we've got Jack carrying the food to the tunnel, and this tunnel is the way to Jack's promised land. Now, he has told the food, Sammy and Frank and Barry, that they're on their way to somewhere amazing where there's all kinds of food that they're going to be able to talk to, and it's so complicated. I recommend you go watch Season 2, Episode 2 on Amazon Prime if you haven't already. There's a lot of backstory. Let's just go here. So we're inside Jack's pocket here, and you can see Barry and Frank, they're not really talking to each other, and they're not getting along too well. The pocket is bouncing up and down to simulate Jack walking. This pocket asset in 3D space was just its own asset. It was completely separate from the rest of the world. Jack wasn't in the shot. The environment wasn't in the shot. It was just a pocket, and it was really nice to work with because it was such a small piece of geo. There wasn't a lot to slow the machine down. But that being said, it was a tight place to put cameras in here. So we didn't have a lot of room to move characters around. We had to be really careful on how we were setting them up against the pocket. The lighting in here, you see, I mean, it would be completely dark. The lighting in here is not practical lighting at all, as we would call it. That it would be the lighting that was existing in the rest of the scene. This was all for the dialogue between the two of them. And we don't really question it. It's because we need to see the characters. So we've got Frank here trying to appeal to Barry. Frank and Barry have been fighting, and there was betrayal going on, and now Barry's starting to question, wait, fancy dogs for life, yeah, we were together, weren't we? And Frank's all being sweet, and it feels like forever since we said that. Yeah, you know, we should be friends again. Look at that, and the facial animation is really selling it here. The animators were acting a lot of these things out, filming themselves, getting this heartfelt moment, hand on chest. Frank's so appealing to Barry. I still consider you my fancy dog, Barry. And Barry's, what? He got the quivering lip. Barry's so emotionally hard. Fancy dogs for life. And Barry wants to believe. He wants to be friends with Frank again. But there's that part of him that's just so cynical and suspicious. That actually means a lot. You too. And we might have had a moment here where things are going, and look at Barry's eyes, so innocent and big. The character design, I like the difference between Frank and Barry, just the designs in general, where Barry's got the big eyes and Frank's got the little beady eyes. And now Frank has to go and ruin it. I just want to say, Frank thinks he's being so big, puts the hand on the shoulder. We don't really have shoulders, we only have these little stick arms, so we just have to cheat that, but it works. I ain't mad at you. And there goes Barry's expression change. Eye dart, hand on the shoulder. What was that you just said? Michael Cera doing the voice. And of course, Seth Rogen, you know, just, I ain't mad at you. He's just going to be completely clueless that Barry's demeanor is completely changed here. So Barry's going from touched to frustrated to angry to furious. Look at that hand. Look at the truck, the zoom into the face, and then we dolly back from Jack here to show, whoa, what's going on in the pocket there? Look at all this wonderful spinning animation of Jack here, boom, into the wall. A very squashy, stretchy show with the animation. We're able to do a lot, dragging those arms behind, really, really pushing that exaggeration. And then we're panning up to the ceiling. We're seeing all this wonderful effects coming down here. And it's reverberating through the entire tunnel as Jack crashes into the wall there. Wonderful stuff. And then, yeah, I love these shots too, where the character starts off screen and then boop, pops up. It's just so effective visually. Working with the pocket here, this is not the same pocket that we saw in the other shot. This is a completely different asset. But as long as, we have them behind that part of the pocket, and watch Sammy here coming up, the pocket was already open because we didn't really have that level of control over the pocket. And Sammy, big inhale, and all this dust that's being inhaled here, all done in effects. That's post-character animation. So we didn't see any of that when we're animating the character. And then when we see it in effects, it's this realization that, whoa, they did such a great job to sell all that. So, Sammy sneezes. Here comes all the rocks. Now, all these rocks out of the ceiling as well. We animated these single rocks coming down, but when the rock smashes, that was all done in the effects department. And similarly, we didn't have holes in the ceiling where rocks would come out of, so that effects department had to make sure that all worked as well. You can see the pocket on Sammy's side there was very cheated just because we didn't have a lot of flexibility with it. But it was functional, and the assets team did a great job in rigging. So here comes all these rocks, and again, we're just dealing with 3 or 4 big rocks, and then effects is turning them into hundreds of rocks. Look at all this smear and blur going on, and this is terrific. Traveling along with them, we see Barry and Frank on either side of the camera. Obviously, there's no room for a camera there, so we had to cheat that. I believe Jack was just completely removed from the shot, and we were just moving the camera as if Jack was there. And there's Daylight. He's going for it. He's going for it. Camera on the ground. Foot comes right into the camera. Boom, there comes a rock. And then we cut to the wide shot, and Jack is free, and he does this, I don't know, he does a 30-foot leap here. And look at all this wonderful dust coming up. Yeah, Jack, I mean, for a big guy, he's pretty agile, and you see the squash and stretch as he's getting up there as well. Look at Sammy peeking from under the shirt there. And always, whenever we've got the food characters working with Jack, we always have to be careful to make sure that they're in clear silhouette. There's a lot of cheating going on to keep their emotions, their faces clear, and making sure that we can tell the story. And then we go wide shot again. We have to be very intentional with our cameras to make sure that we're letting the Jack shots be clear and the food shots be clear. And when they're all together, to try and make it all as clear as possible, really broad silhouettes, broad actions. And big realization, squash and stretch, it's the Stockton sewage treatment plant. We've got Will Forte doing Jack's voice there. And this was just, as I recall, that was just a matte painting. We didn't have an asset for that sewage treatment plant. So it was just a one-frame gag that we, if you don't need to make something in 3D and model it and light it and have all this extra stuff going on, if you just have a nice looking image, a painting there, that's great. Now remember, plugging the nose here, we ran into this challenge of, it's blocking Jack's eyes. We don't want to have to, we want to be able to see his expression. So, okay, we're there, and eventually we get the nose or the hand down in front of Jack's mouth more, so that we can see his facial expression better. And we can still see part of his mouth. And of course the food is all excited. Look at Sammy with the big smile there. We can see right through to the background behind him whenever he opens his mouth wide. Everybody's super excited. Look at Frank and Barry. Frank and Barry especially, and Sammy as well. There wasn't that much room on Jack's default shoulders, so we always had to translate the shoulders out to give the food enough room to sit up there. And then if you look at Jack in other shots, you'll see that he has very sloped down shoulders, very kind of almost weak shoulders instead of these square shoulders that we have here. And look at this beautiful sunset, all this terrific lighting here. This is something, again, we wouldn't see in animation. We don't have, it's not our focus. We're focusing on the motion, we're focusing on the character assets, the acting. There's enough to worry about without us thinking about, so what is the lighting going to look like in this shot? We just have to focus on our job, one thing at a time. Yeah, and this worked terrific. This is not a very big set. This was almost the entirety of the set here. We had a few more buildings off in the distance, but it makes it look like an entire town. It really wasn't. It was pretty. It just as much as we need. You're not going to have more assets than you need in general. Jack's starting to slow down, and now the food's going to get off and start exploring on their own. All kinds of cheats here compositionally. We have Frank and Barry jumping down. Now where they're going to land is quite a bit of a distance from this shot here. So every shot that we can, we're just going to cheat them further away so that we can let them explore more, and then we can get back to Jack. Now Jack's on his own and the food is on their own, and we get into 1 shots, 2 shots. We get into the wide shot here. Look how far Sammy and Jack and Barry are. They're just tiny, but they're way far in the front there. And that little wind vane there, weather vane with the arrow pointing towards Jack. That's terrific. Really nice stuff. Jeez, where's all the liberated food? So we got this, camera's right on the ground. We want to just be focusing on Sammy. Jack's in the background, of course. A little blurred out. Again, we wouldn't necessarily see that in Maya. Now we get to see Barry's reaction to the whole thing. He's cynical and angry. And Frank is just confused. Well, you said this town would be packed. How is this possible? Again, we're acting out the animation. The animators are. So they're filming themselves. They're doing all this. And then they're getting that emotion into the characters. Look at this smear and the drag on the hand there. Ah, yeah, look at the smear on the fingers. Terrific. Goulash, Goulash, where are you? And this is, we've just got the camera really slowly going back. We've got this texture on the ground here that sells the slow camera move really nicely. Wouldn't see that in Maya either. This kind of thing where you've got the silhouette of the foot, that's really important. Just gives us depth in the scene. And gives us something for Jack to react to as well. And I didn't really think this through. And Jack's hair, whenever he's moving his head, he's got a lot of hair movement there. His hair had several controls, so we were able to move it around a lot. All these dead bodies hit home a lot more when you're... And this was our... I referred to this as our Luke Skywalker shot, where he's thinking about going back... to his home when he's talking to Ben, and he kind of goes, oh, home! And that's exactly what Jack's doing here. Oh God, that's Mr. Glenn. All these flies. I don't think we had these flies in Maya. I believe these were added in effects later on, but I could be wrong on that. I'm seeing shadows from the flies, so maybe we did have the assets in Maya. I'd have to ask one of the animators. And again, we're just working with this terrific lighting here. We've got the sun starting to set over on screen left there. Now he's dead. Big acting shot. And whenever we've got a wider shot like this, you can get into broader action. When you've got a close-up shot, you can't move around too much. You have to stay within the camera framing. No, something's off. Barry's our detective. He's cynical, but he's also probably the smartest and the most aware of what's going on around them. So he's going to be finding something else that was going on around here. Lots of reactions as Barry's coming to his conclusion. Jack and Sammy reacting. And Barry, no, unhand me. He's reconstructing the crime here of all the food where it went to. Yeah, so that was a fun episode. Like I say, I recommend going and watching the entire episode at full speed with the audio on Amazon Prime. It was a lot of fun to work on. Some really great people that I worked with. Yeah, it was a fun experience. It was, more than 2 years ago that we animated this already, and it just recently came out, so it's good to see. And that was part 4. Probably got 4 or 5 other parts to come, and hope you enjoyed it. Keep checking them out, and yeah, thanks.